You're watching FanTeam Daily, a podcast by WhoScored.com. Hello everyone, welcome back to FanTeam Daily, the fantasy football show that could help you win real money with your football knowledge. On FanTeam Daily, we'll be looking at the Premier League Fantasy Football Tournament, which has a minimum guaranteed prize pool of £1 million and a guaranteed first place prize of £200,000. With less than a week to go until the new season starts, excitement levels are rising. Without wasting any more time, let me introduce my panel. Jake is gone. Linn is back in the hot seat. Linn, how are you?
I am good, thank you.
Yeah, good. And Ben, you look a bit hot. Are you all right?
I'm top of the pops, my friend. It's the pressure of the podcast, you see.
Yeah.
It's some big decisions to be made.
With 200 grand on the line, it's
massive.
The pressure is ramping up. So what is FanTeam Daily? What are we talking about? FanTeam have a Premier League game. As I said, the guaranteed prize pool is £1 million. It's £20 to enter, and you can enter with multiple teams, which is great if you want to try different strategies. This episode is perfect if you want to enter multiple teams, because we will be discussing different FanTeam strategies. The game is similar to FPL. There's not too much to explain in terms of different rules, but we'll touch on different scoring as we go. Linn, what is happening on today's show?
So this is the fourth out of 5 series, following on from Essential and Premiums, Budget and Cheap Options. And most recently you did the Who Scored squad to do it all by stats. And all are available on Who Scored's YouTube channel. In today's show, we'll be looking at the best formation and strategies to help you win FanTeam. Later in the show, we'll be giving one free entry to the game via trivia questions, so stick around for that. So, shall we get started?
Let's get started. Let's start with formation as our first topic. So I've seen quite a few people experimenting a little bit more. I mean, back in the day when I used to play sort of 7 or 8 years ago, it was 3-4-3 and that was it. Like there was no contest. But now we see more sort of premium defenders. We see a less like premium strikers in the league, although obviously Lukaku coming in could change that. Lots of like good midfielders now. So Ben, what's your kind of formation going into FanTeam? Are you a traditional 3-4-3er, or have you mixed it up a bit?
This season, ahead of the big one, I'll be toying between a 3-4-3 and a 3-5-2. I've got issues around game week 1 and game week 2 with potentially players not being fully up to speed. So that's why there may be a little bit of fluidity around the formation. But I don't pick my squad necessarily around a specific formation. I will have a hard nucleus of players that I want, and then I'll see who I can fit in around them, and then I'll just judge on each individual round, each game week, on what I feel is going to be the best formation. But certainly game week 1, that'll be a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2.
It feels like at the moment the powers in the midfield, isn't it? I mean, you've got Salah, you've got Mane, Son, Fernandes, all these guys. Sancho's there as well. Mahrez, people are seeing. De Bruyne hasn't even come into contention yet. And then forwards, I mean, you've got premium strikers like Kane. Obviously, what's going to happen to him? Vardy, maybe Lukaku. But other than that, there isn't a huge amount of like premium attacking options. Linn, what about you?
I do like the 3-4-3 as a standard, but I also like to, because in FanTeam we get this extra point for midfielders playing 90 minutes and also forwards. Then it makes sense to have an extra midfielder forward. So 3-5-2 is also a very good option. Especially like you said, this season we've got so many good midfielders.
Yeah, I think what you've just said pretty much kills the 4 at the back for me, because the defenders don't earn that appearance, that playing 90 points. So I think you want to maximise your attacking midfielders and strikers up front. Sorry, Ben, back to you. What were you about to say?
Exactly my point. Looking for the extra bonus points wherever you can pick them up. It's hard enough as it is. So if you can get some free points on the board with 90 minutes of those offensive players, then that's who I'm going to opt for.
Yep. Do you think Lukaku changes things? Linn, are you interested in Lukaku? Do you think his imminent signing is going to maybe shake things up a bit?
I am interested. I can't lie. I am so interested. But at the other hand, I will wait a bit because their fixtures turn around game week 7, I think. And also some other fixtures like Liverpool's turn to the worst. So it could be a good place to look around and maybe swap around a few players.
Yep. How about you, Ben? What about Harry Kane? He gets a move to City. Is he going straight in your draft?
Not straight in, but I'll certainly be keeping an eye on Harry, because if he does sign for City, look, you're talking 30 plus goals a season there. Regarding Lukaku, he is in my team from the get-go. He's one of those question marks, I don't know where he is in terms of his fitness. Obviously went fairly deep in the Euros, and we don't know how much training he's actually done across in Milan. So that would be a worry. But I'm not bothered about fixture swings or anything at the beginning. For me, class is permanent, and that almost, overpowers any kind of the fixtures. If you're good, you're good. And I think he's got a point to prove. I think it's a different beast to the one that left Manchester United. And I expect them to do big things. And of course, Chelsea, the European champions anyway, they're building on a solid foundation.
Yep, I'm going to sit perfectly on the fence and agree with both of you. I think I agree with Linn. I agree waiting till sort of go around game week 7 is a sensible play. But at the same time, I don't think he's going to fear playing in difficult fixtures. I mean, aside from Man City and Chelsea, there aren't really any defences that I think he can't score against, and he plays to one of them. So I don't think there's too much to worry about. I think he makes the likes of Chilwell more attractive. Mason Mount as well as a player I really like in FanTeam because he's going to get those 90-minute points. His chances created was really high, as we talked about in the last episode. And now he's actually got a decent striker to pass to. So you've got to think his form is going to increase. Just going back to formations quickly, I've always I've stuck with 3-4-3 in my FanTeam drafts. The issue I find with going 5 in midfield is it means you've got to basically have a budget striker. And by budget striker, I mean budget striker, 4-5 striker who's not going to play Keenan Davis, Michael Obafemi, someone like that. Someone who you really, really don't want on your bench. Whereas if you look in midfield, you've got the likes of Billy Gilmore, for example, at 4-5, who could come on and do a job for you. That tends to be why I stick with 3-4-3. Just having that extra bench option rather than going for the cheapest striker is good. But in FanTeam, the prices are a little bit kinder than in some of the other fantasy games. And you could actually stretch up to an Ivan Toney maybe and have him on your bench at just 6 million. So something to think
Ben
about.
Teke.
No. Really? Would you go there? Would you go there, Ben?
Well, you'll find out, won't you, when we do episode 5.
Oh, God. That's going to be
what
fun.
What about Welbeck? There's no love for Welbeck anymore.
Yeah, Linn, I think you've got a bit of a crush on Welbeck. I'm a big fan of Welbeck in terms of what he brings to Brighton, but as a fantasy option, I just don't think he gets enough goals. But is he 6 million on FanTeam?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, comparing him to Toney, though, I think I'd rather go with Toney. You think Welbeck could do better? He
had really good last season when he played continuously. So why not do that again?
Can he play continuously? And when he does play, does he really score enough?
We're all over Danny Ings, we're all over Antonio, and they also need to be managed because they get injured. So what's the difference?
They're better goal scorers than Danny Welbeck.
Yeah, maybe you might have a point. But I still like Welbeck. I don't think it's a bad pick for that price.
No, nor do I. I think for a budget option, I mean, we don't know about his fitness at the start of the season, but he could come in and do a job. I just think Toney at 6 just kills him as an option because I think he's probably 0.5 too cheap in FanTeam. So
he's likely to be out until after the break anyway. Welbeck.
Yeah, he could come back and be a factor. Maybe Lamptey could as well when he's. I mean, if he ever returns as well, he's another player who. Don't know what's going on, Ben. What's going on with Lamptey? You know these things. Where is he?
So he basically had a niggling hamstring problem from last October. Managed to be patched up and eventually made the decision to have surgery. Now that's taken much longer than initially anticipated in terms of getting him back up to speed. Hopeful that it was going to be pre-season. That's been delayed. The difficulty with hamstring problems, they've got high recurrence rates, re-injury rates. So there's no point in pushing them. So at the minute, there's no timeline whatsoever. It's just a case of, hopefully getting that time in, increasing his load on the training pitches. And again, I think maybe if we are looking after the international break, that would be a big boost for Brighton.
Yeah, frustrating as a Brighton fan to see him still out after missing almost the whole of last season. Right, Linn, I'm going to come to you. So last night I was talking to you and I said, who's going to play at left back with Robertson injured? And you straight away said Milner. You send me your team today and who's in there? It's old 4 million defender Tsimikas. So my question to you is, do you see these opportunities for really cheap defenders as a way of putting more money into your midfield and attack? And do you think Tsimikas is that player that can be that kind of gem?
I think he's got 2 things that are important to me. He's a winger, so he's playing in Robertson's play, so he'll probably get assists. Hopefully. He actually got one today in the friendly.
He did, yep, Firmino.
Yeah, and of course he's an enabler for a short period of time. We don't know how long Robertson will be out for at the moment, but even if it's 2 weeks, I think he's a good pick.
Yeah, well, we talked about Yeah, we talked about budget defenders on one of the last episodes, and we were throwing around some names which weren't particularly inspiring. But when you add Tomiskas into there, and I think maybe Amity as well, if Leicester don't sign a new centre-back, these could be the players that let you strengthen other positions of your team. Ben, what about you? Have you got any 4 million defenders in your side at the moment, or are you going and putting a bit more in defence?
I've got Daniel Amati as it currently stands. But again, I'm hoping that Leicester maybe don't bring anybody in. But if I can get 3 game weeks out of him, take us up to the international break, I'd be very happy with that.
Yep. And what about premium defenders? So I think we've all got Trent. I'm gonna put that out there and say that we've all got Trent. Linn is shaking her head. Surely, Linn, surely you're going to start the season with Trent.
I do not have Trent.
Unbelievable. Wasn't he the player that you said was the number one? Oh no, that was Jota, wasn't it? It was Jota you said. Yeah. It was Ben. I think you said Trent. Okay, so we're talking about strategies here. So you're not going for Trent. So you're not going for arguably the best defender kind of in the game. So who's your most expensive defender then?
That will be Cancelo.
Cancelo at 6. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what, are you down to like a 5 or 4 5s?
Kufal, I like him.
So down to 5. So 7, 6.
I also like Shaw. He's also 6, I think, in FanTeam.
Interesting. Because, I mean, to me, Trent is a lot of money, right? Trent's 7.5. He's going to have to perform like a 7.5 midfielder would. He's going to have to do like the work of like Jota or Rafinha or someone like that to kind of justify the price. How many
Liverpool players can you put into your team? There's a limit.
That's upsetting for you.
You're going to have to go like what's best for the team overall, not just your Liverpool players.
You've got Tomiskas.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. He's 4 million and he's got an attacking threat. He's playing for Liverpool. He's a given in any team.
So you're saying
then you get, for attacking threat, you can get Cancelo, you can get Chilwell.
Well, Dean or Creswell. There's there is plenty of kind of attacking options. But what do you think about that? I mean, you've got Trent. You said he was kind of like the first man on your list. Linn is obviously kind of seeing defence as a way to free up some money to kind of invest in other places. Do you like to do that, or do you like to make sure that you've got kind of like a spine of like at least someone like Trent is a kind of non-negotiable?
I pick who I like and who I believe will bring home the points. And whatever price point that may be, I'll fit in other players in and around them. So with Trent, if he was a midfielder at 7.5, and given his returns of the last few seasons, even last season, the way he finished as well, I think he was the highest point scorer in the second half of the season. I think it was about 108 in the official game. He's, in terms of offensive defender, I think he was obviously the most attacking in terms of XG, XA, and he was 5th overall in the Premier League. So it's a no-brainer. Yes, he's expensive, but you've got all of those potential attacking returns, and I really do expect Liverpool to be a lot tighter at the back, considering you've got Van Dijk, who's going to be back in there. You've got Gomez, who's going to be in and around the squad as well. So I do expect a big improvement from Liverpool this season.
You could also argue that with Robertson out, Trent is maybe even a better option. They're going to be using him more attacking down the right. He's all going to be on more set pieces probably because Robertson will take the ones on the left, so maybe Trent will go over there. Yeah, I mean, Tomiskas is an interesting one. We talked about having the dangling carrot of Firmino a couple of episodes ago. I think that's Tomiskas. My worry with Tomiskas is Robertson's back after 3 or 4 weeks, and then you're stuck with him, and you want to move on and get 3 Liverpool players. You want Jota, Salah, and Mane, for example, or Trent, Salah, Robertson, or something, and you've got this 4 million defender just sat around. Is that something that worries you, Linn, or are you thinking about the now?
Both, because I will most likely still have a 4.0 defender in my team. I might as well have a playing one for a while now. I see that as a bonus. The only negative thing I see about Tomiskas is that he is a Liverpool player. So you can't just leave him on the bench. You will actually have to trade him out to open up a spot for another.
That's exactly what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. When you want to, for you, for example, say you wanted to get Trent in and you wanted to stick with Salah and Jota, you wouldn't be able to do that because obviously you've got Tomiskas there. So you're going to have to move some players around in order to be able to upgrade that 4 million. It's a bit of a faff, isn't it?
So that is the only negative as I see it. But on the other hand, I am fairly confident that I will wildcard early. That means probably around game week 7, maybe. And I can have him in my team until then. I can survive that for sure.
Yep. Nice. I like it. Okay. So the flip side of that, I mean, I guess the other strategy is to just go really hard on defense. And I think we're all kind of agree that maybe that isn't the best strategy to do in FanTeam because they don't get those extra points. But again, I mean, we've got some really attacking defenders in the league now. We've got Chilwell, we've got Trent, we've got Shaw, we've got Dean, we've got Creswell. We've got, players who can score, reaching up towards 200 points or something like that. So, we can have multiple teams in FanTeam. Ben, is a team stacked with premium defenders something you're thinking about?
Not really. It's not something that I've ever given any serious consideration to. I mean, you did mention some really top draw players there. The worry is about Everton and Rafa. I expect them to be quite tight, but that game against Manchester United at the weekend, so that puts doubts and question marks over Digne for me. I do like Chilwell, but then again, Thomas Tuchel, he's the new Pep, isn't he? Loves to rotate.
A tinkerer. He's a tinkerer, that man.
You would think Chilwell is he's one of the most nails in that Chelsea back line. But, it's 6 million. Do I want to be taking that chance? For me, it's like the City back line. You're paying top prices and you could never 100% guarantee that they're actually going to start. I think there's enough cheap options to mix and match in that back line. I don't think you have to go big with premium to guarantee points. I think there's, like I say, enough budget options in there to hopefully bring home the bacon.
Yep. Linn, any plans for a heavy in defence side?
I will have one team that's a back heavy one. I am maybe not the strongest believer in it, but I do want to give it a go. I'm putting in a couple of teams just to try different strategies and see what works. So I figured learning by doing is the best way to go.
Absolutely. Well, my best team in the Euros that did the best in FanTeam was one where I had all the wing backs. I had like Gozens, I had Shaw, I had Dumfries, who was absolutely amazing. All these guys, and that was just a kind of a wild card team that I put in just to try and I had 5 at the back, so I went properly expensive on attacking defenders, and it ended up being my team that got me the most money out of it. So there is a kind of a logic to it. The attacking defenders do well. I mean, Chilwell, for example, will be playing at wing back, so we think about Trent as not even really being a defender, and Ben mentioned him. He could even be classed as a midfielder. I think the same as with Chilwell, Reece James, when they play in that wing-back formation. So wing-backs have always tempted me. Cancelo as well, somebody who dropped into midfield, plays really far up the pitch. I'll be having one team with an expensive back line and cheaper elsewhere. I think there's enough cheaper options elsewhere, kind of the opposite of what Ben was saying, to make a decent team with expensive defenders. Right, I've got a deep question for you both now. And Ben, I remember one of the first one of these we did, you gave me a very deep answer to a question. Well, here's a question for you. What's your identity? How do you identify as a fantasy football manager? I know what you're going to say straight away. You're going to say your nickname again, aren't you?
Wait, well, I wasn't going to.
But now you want to.
No, you know what? Maverick. Maverick. I like to think of myself as individual. I'm not bothered about trends, ownerships, who's hot, who's not. I purely base every decision on what I see, what my gut tells me. And at least then, if it bangs, great. But if it doesn't, I'm happy in the knowledge that I made that decision based on its own merits. And for that reason, I'm never, ever disappointed.
Wow. I mean, you ask a deep question, you get a deep answer like that. Never, ever disappointed. You own your own decisions.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Linn, come on. Wow me with some deep theory.
I am the type of player who tries to play a boring, safe game, but I never succeed.
That is not how I know you. You're a Willock captainer.
Yeah. But that's not what I want to be. I want to be that safe manager who plays the safe game and gets all the points all the time. I'm a bit like a crow. When something gleams and just catch my interest, and I need to go there. Yeah,
something shiny like Temiskas, 4 million. Ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a good idea. Yeah, it's not a good idea, but you're in that
exactly.
nest.
I can't help myself, but I just need to go there.
So how do you both tend to do in these kind of fantasy games? I mean, I'd say you both sort of veer towards the more kind of maverick end of things. Ben, do you do well? Do you think that style of play is the best way to play, or do you not care?
I don't care. And is it the best way? No, not in a season-long format. I do really well on the monster games, on the weekly, the one-off events, which allows me to pick those different.
Because you have to, right? You have to go different in that.
Yeah. The problem is with me, and it'll be different this year because you've got the low of that 200 grand. You know,
sell out. I said in the last one, selling out all your beliefs for 200 grand.
You've got to be a little bit more conservative, but I get bored easily. I'm just like I'm like Tom Hanks in Big. You know, I'm just a little boy trapped inside a man's body, and I cannot stop my fingers from pressing buttons. It might be great, but look, I'm in my own little world enjoying myself, and who cares?
I don't think you and Linn should run a team. I think it would just be absolute carnage. You'd have all the most random players in it. I think. How about you, Linn? You mentioned about playing safe. Do you think that's the way to do well then, and you want to play that way, but you find yourself going a bit obscure?
I think the times I've done really well, I have played very safe and boring, and that's kind of why FanTeam suits me quite well, because then I can have a team I can just tinker and do all I want to do and go with my gut feeling. And then I just keep one team, the safe team.
Exactly.
And that's just a boring team, but I leave it at that because I've got my tinker team.
Exactly.
So
you can have your cake and eat it too. You can play your safe way, and then you can have another team.
So it's almost also like I'm competing against myself. Like,
exactly.
Can my tinker side win over my boring side?
Exactly. Well, you're the perfect kind of experiment for this year. We need to work out whether Maverick versus Dullard is the truth. So. Yeah, you're representing the science in that one. I like it. What about hits then? Do you take a lot of hits?
Yes.
Yes, lots
Too
of
many.
hits. Too many hits. I thought you were going to say that.
Last season was exceptional. It was just hits on hits on hits because I didn't have 11 players most of the time. So a bit of bad luck and a couple of bad decisions. But yeah, so this year I'm starting with a strong bench. That would be important to me.
And to
at least have 2 decent bench players, and hopefully that will help with my taking too many hits problem.
Last season was the season to play safe, wasn't it? Last season was the season not to do anything crazy. It was, just captain the best performing players. It was get Kane and Son in early, keep them. It wasn't a season for the three of us, was it, Ben? Because it punished you when you tried to be a bit different, I found.
Yeah. I'm absolutely against hits. I tried to adopt a 0 hit policy for, I think it's the last 2 seasons. I haven't taken a hit now, regardless. So I just try and, hard and fast. I've never found that I've gained anything from taking hits in the past. So now I just refuse to take them and roll the dice and see what happens.
So that's quite at odds with your general strategy of being a bit maverick and a bit differential. Because I would have thought by nature a maverick manager would be like Linn, see something shiny and want it, no matter how many points you've got to throw down the drain to get it. But you show restraint, but you're still happy to pick different players. Yeah, seems like quite a middle ground, right?
I mean, I've got a lot of self-imposed stupid rules. Set and forget captain. I try to get through not using any chips last year in other formats. Like I say, 0 hits. Okay,
so captaincy. So the thing I always struggle with in fantasy football has always been captaincy, because I don't like to play it safe. I think Salah for the first 7 weeks he's going to be my captain almost every week, and I find that really boring. Most years though, I try and experiment a little bit. I've captained random players over the years. I've captained Daniel Agger one week. I had a dream that he scored, so I captained him. He went off after 28 minutes. I'll never forget it. And it was when they lost about 4-1 to Spurs. So yeah, basically we're talking about strategy. Don't trust dreams would be one of my suggestions. I've captained guys like Richarlison, Lingard, Trossard went well. Most of the time though, when I try and captain a different captain, it goes badly. Linn, would you agree with that? Or have you got enough examples of your own captains to say that, no, it can work?
When you go with a differential, it works out 50% of the time. But even when it works out 50% of the time, the guy you should probably have captained also scores.
Does well as well, exactly.
So it's like
what have I actually gained from this apart from loads of stress and hiding behind the sofa when Salah's playing and I haven't captained him?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Ben, what do you think about captaining sort of different captains? Are you one for kind of you said set and forget captain, right? So I'm guessing you just like a premium player and you just stick with them, make your moves elsewhere.
I mean, I wouldn't know about Peter. It was Marcus Rashford was me set and forget, and that was based purely on the fact that he done so well getting, the children's school meals. So I just thought, what the hell, what better way to honour the man than making my set and forget captain. So I hope
I'm sure he really appreciated it.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. But prior to that, again, I just go down individual fixtures, and regardless of who the player is, I've done centre-backs, Lascelles as a captain that springs to mind. Goalkeepers, it's whatever throws, comes my way. Mini leagues are a big thing as well. So, I'm never really realistically going to win that overall prize. So you're often playing within a mini league and it's looking for that differential, just something a little bit different, which will get you those, those points in your friends and family league.
Yeah, I mean, it tends to be more towards the second half, more towards the end of the second half of the season when I start experimenting a bit more with captains. I think particularly at the start when we're trying to work out who's in form, what teams are good, what players are, going to do well. It's a lot easier just to stick with the tried and tested Salahs, Fernandez's, Kane's, all of that, rather than trying to pick out a crazy captain. So yeah, my advice probably is play it sort of relatively safe at the start, and then when you've got more data and more stats to look at, then I think you can make more informed decisions kind of in the second half of the season. So kind of leading on from that, I mean, we did touch on this thing of effective ownership and things. FanTeam's a bit different to other games because FanTeam doesn't actually tell you the ownership of players. I don't know if you've both noticed that. You don't get the ownership data until after the deadline has passed. You can't. You kind of have a good idea about who's got who. Like Salah's going to be 50-60% owned. You know there's going to be players who are high. But someone like Mane, for example, I've got no idea. He could be 5% owned. He could be 80% owned. Like he's that kind of player who, at his price point, I just don't know where he sits. Do you like that element, Linn? Do you like kind of not knowing? And do you find the effective ownership does factor into your decisions?
I do like not knowing because I feel like we're going back to the old days of FPL when we didn't know everything. It's kind of nice to not know everything, and just go with your own gut feeling and not follow the herd. Yep.
It's my biggest pet peeve in FPL, as I'm sure some people listening to this podcast will know, is people making decisions based on ownership. I think it's a disgusting way to play the game. And Ben, I am sure that you agree with me.
The only
disgusting is a strong word, but I stand by it.
The only reason I look at ownership is to make informed decisions on who not to bring in.
Absolutely.
So an example last year, my template team, I think I tried to keep it under 10%. So any player that had basically over 10% ownership was out and gone, regardless of who they were. So even if I brought them in at 5%, which I did do with Harry Kane early last season, and then obviously he started well and his ownership grew. As soon as he got to a level, I had to get rid of him.
Anyone listening, is just so that they're aware, that isn't normal what Ben's doing. That isn't a normal thing to take out players because their ownership reaches. That's like taking what I say to a new level, and I respect it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I completely agree with you. Though I think we can use ownership to work out where we can make sort of smart decisions against players. So my Trossard captain, for example, was made off the back that I knew Kane in that week was going to be so highly owned. I didn't really fancy him against Villa. And, if I thought Kane was a better pick, I would have gone for him. But I'm not going to pick Kane just because he was going to be like 180% effective ownership. That just seems a crazy way, because the only way you're going to, especially with FanTeam, the only way you're going to win the money is by doing things a bit different to everyone else. Because if you just follow what everyone else is doing, how are you ever going to get to that number one spot? I mean, I guess you could play that way and win a bit of cash and win £100 or £200, but we all want to go for the prize, right? We want to go for the big prize, the 200 grand. So to do that, I think you have to back yourself and you have to go against. Don't be a sheep, basically, is the advice there. Okay, so last question. So again, Ben, I'm going to come to you because I know your answer to this because you touched on it a few times. Pre-season and the Euro tournament, you don't really care about that, do you?
In essence, no. I mean, there's certainly the pre-season, unless we're talking about the final sort of weekend of the pre-season. So those fixtures which just happened on the 7th and the 8th of August. Then yes, you've got a better understanding of how managers may set up and the sort of players that will be in that starting 11, because the assumption is that they're going to be putting out a strong team, getting ready for game week 1. So sort of stand up and take note. With regards to the Euros and certainly the players who are involved in that in terms of their form, no, doesn't mean anything to me whatsoever. The only consideration I would have with players involved in the Euros is purely when they've come back into the fold and where they may be in terms of their fitness levels and their sharpness for being available, during the first couple of game weeks of the domestic season.
Now, Linn, I know your answer to this because you're a crow, right? Is it a crow or is it a raven? One of the
I thought it was a magpie.
A magpie, of course it is.
Yeah.
It's a magpie.
It's a magpie, isn't it?
It's a magpie, of course it is, yeah.
It's a magpie.
Can you edit magpie into all of that bit? Of course it's a magpie that like those shiny things. But if you're a magpie and you're trying to spot shiny things, surely the shiniest things happen in pre-season.
Yes, but I don't watch pre-season at all. I don't follow it. I don't want to know the scores. I don't want to know anything.
Is that because you don't trust yourself?
As a magpie, I would see things gleaming and try to go there.
That's exactly what I thought.
Stop. Don't show me. Don't tell me. I don't want to know.
So let me throw a name out there. A player who's having an absolutely outstanding pre-season is Ben Rama of West Ham. Does me telling you that make you want him? It does a bit, doesn't it? I can
up until this morning. And I took him out, actually.
Yeah. Ben, is there any part of you that thinks Ben Rama could be a good shout this season?
I don't think he's a bad shout. I certainly think he's got a lot to prove again. He's had a season already at West Ham. So this, now it's time to stand up and be counted. There's a place to play for in the absence of Lingard. Bowen's just picked up a foot problem. He came back at the weekend, but maybe he's not 100%. I think Ben Rama, wants to stake a claim in David Moyes' team, and with him being involved in Europe, there may be a lot more rotation in there as well. Mm. The caveat for me with pre-season and players doing well, one is the standard of opposition, first and foremost. Secondly, what sort of teams are these opposition putting out? If you look at, say, Newcastle at the weekend against Norwich, and you think, Newcastle are going in with a decent win, 3-0. But then you learn that Norwich had about 7 or 8 players missing, either through injury and or illness or COVID. So there's everything needs context. And for me, like I say, apart from that, maybe that last game or the last 2 games, anything that goes before that is just an exercise to get players back up to speed.
Well, we saw it in the Community Shield, didn't we, with Man City? I mean, not a single player in Man City's starting 11 was a player who'd got deep into the Euros. They didn't take any risks with any players, really. They threw in a couple of youngsters. Amares played and a few others, but it wasn't anywhere near like the first choice a team. So they treated like some teams, you saw Leicester celebrations when they won it. Like it's a trophy, right? It's the start of the season with a trophy. And Pep, with his nice T-shirt on, nice white T-shirt, was just like, I don't really care. I'm just going to use it as a training exercise. Whatever happens. It's felt beneath him is how I would describe that lineup he put out. But yeah, Ben Rama is someone that does interest me. I think if you are going by pre-season form, he is the one I think that's really stood out to me this season. And Tsimikas, he's had a great pre-season, and like Linn said earlier, another assist tonight for Firmino. Yeah, he's on the radar. Would you still go with Ben Rama over, say, Souček, when you know that Souček is most likely playing 90 minutes and get extra bonus point, while Ben Rama most likely will get subbed? It's a very tricky one. I think in FanTeam, Souček is a great pick just because he's got those 90-minute picks, and I think he does tend to do what he was doing well at the start of the season without Lingard as well. So I think Lingard not being there might actually help him more, because when Lingard signed, Souček's attacking returns dropped off. So I wonder if they use him in a slightly different way without Lingard there. So yeah, for me, Souček would still be the one. I think Ben Rama, like Ben said, there's going to be rotation there. He's going to get subbed off. I just can't see him subbing Souček off. I think he's just going to play every minute. I think he's a great pick, Souček, in this game. So Linn mentioned earlier, at the start of the show, we're giving away free entries to FanTeam, and we've got a competition running every show. All you've got to do is answer a trivia question correctly and put your answer in the comment section with your FanTeam ID. We will select one right answer at random and give you the free entry to the game. Lynn, what is today's trivia question?
So, which goalkeeper scored the most points on FanTeam last season? And I will even give you a little clue. He was on international duty for his nation this summer.
Very good.
You got any idea?
Well, I know the answer to this one because it's written in the notes. And I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to give any clues for this. I'm interested to know what people say.
Would you have guessed it?
I'm not going to say. I'm going to be tight-lipped. I don't want to give anything away.
Okay, so you would not have guessed it. That's it. You wouldn't have guessed it.
I'm not saying. I'm not saying. I don't want to. I'm not good with like things like this because I'll say something and then someone will guess it from that. So no, I'm gonna chuck it away. That's it for us tonight. Thanks for watching FanTeam Daily by Who Scored. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We've got one more of these to come, and we'll be revealing our teams. Really excited to see those. That will be live on Wednesday, the 11th of August. Lynn, Ben, thank you so much, and I will see you on the next show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're watching FanTeam Daily, a podcast by WhoScored.com.